In today's news, more than 50 people are killed in a stampede in Ethiopia after police fire warning shots during a protest. A Filipino singer becomes the first foreigner to win the Vietnam Idol singing competition. And Cronulla Sharks celebrate their first NRL victory in 50 years. To today's top story. Over 50 people have reportedly died in a stampede in Ethiopia during a religious celebration in the southeast of the African country's capital, Addis Ababa. Witnesses say the stampede was triggered after police used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse anti-government protesters. It's estimated about 2 million people gathered for the annual festival. The government of Ethiopia has declared 3 days of national mourning. In other world news, the campaign for Donald Trump has refused to say whether or not the US presidential nominee may have avoided paying federal taxes for years. It comes after the New York Times reported that the Republican declared a $916 million loss in his 1995 income tax returns. In a statement, the Trump campaign responded by saying the newspaper had illegally obtained a 20-year-old document and applied a misleading spin. The Times reported that it received the document in an anonymous letter. Tax experts say that the deduction would have allowed Trump to avoid paying federal income taxes for up to 18 years. Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte has apologised to the Jewish community after his remarks drawing comparisons between his anti-drug campaign and the Holocaust sparked shock and outrage. Duterte said his comments were to hit back at critics who had likened him to Adolf Hitler. He has insisted his mention of the Nazi leader was to show how opponents had sought to portray him. Historians say 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazis under Hitler before and during World War II. British Prime Minister Theresa May has said that she will trigger Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty at the end of March 2017, starting the UK's 2-year process of withdrawal from the European Union. The process can be extended beyond 2 years if Britain and all other EU countries unanimously agree. If the negotiation plans go as predicted, Britain could leave the bloc by early 2019. In June, Britain's shock vote to leave the EU propelled Theresa May to power. The former Interior Minister has been under pressure to offer more details on her plans for Brexit. Almost all Hungarians who voted in Sunday's referendum have rejected the European Union's compulsory quotas of asylum seekers, but turnout was too low to make the poll valid, frustrating Prime Minister Viktor Orban's hopes of a clear victory with which to challenge Brussels. Hungary's maverick right-wing leader said EU policymakers should take note of the referendum outcome. Orban said more Hungarians had rejected the migrant quotas than had voted for European Union membership in a referendum ahead of Hungary's 2004 accession to the bloc. Some 3.3 million votes were cast rejecting the quotas, compared with 2003's 3 million votes in favour of joining the EU. The sole survivor of a plane in Vietnam, which killed 29 people in 1992, has recounted her story in a memoir titled Turbulence. Dutch native Annette Herfkens was travelling with her fiancé on board Vietnam Airlines Flight 474 on November 14, 1992, when it crashed into a mountain. The then 31-year-old survived alone for a week in the jungle. Now 55, Herfkens has revealed how she clung to life before being rescued by local police. To news in Vietnam. A Filipino singer has become the first foreigner to win the popular singing competition Vietnam Idol. Janice Phuong was crowned the Season 7 winner after receiving over 54% of the viewers' votes. The 28-year-old singer charmed local audiences with her rendition of the song Hello Vietnam in English and Vietnamese in the show's finale. Second place went to 22-year-old local contestant Viet Thang, a singer from the northern province of Hải Dương. Meanwhile, Thousands of Vietnamese have protested at a steel plant run by a unit of Taiwan's Formosa Plastics in central Hà Tĩnh province. Witnesses say the protest, which started early on Sunday and finished around noon, was held to demand Formosa Hà Tĩnh Steel leave the country and compensate more people after one of the country's biggest environmental disasters. One protester told news agency Reuters police in helmets and shields were deployed to guard the compound. The police left as the number of protesters outnumbered them. No injuries or arrests were reported. Formosa has offered millions in damages and admitted that its steel plant was responsible for massive fish deaths along a 200-kilometre stretch of coastline in April. To news back in Australia. The Cronulla Sharks are still celebrating after Sunday's National Rugby League Grand Final, which saw the club secure their first ever premiership in 50 years. The Sharks clinched a 14-12 victory over the Melbourne Storm in front of 83,000 people at Sydney's Olympic Stadium. The Storm looked to have the win in the bag when they fought back from a Shark-dominated first half with second half tries from Jesse Bromwich and Will Chambers to lead 12-8, with only 14 minutes left on the clock. The Sharks' win comes 2 years after they finished bottom of the league in the wake of a doping scandal. People in South Australia are still coping with wild winds as heavy rain sets to return to the drenched state. A flood watch is in place in the Adelaide Hills, where up to 100 millimetres of rain is predicted over today and tomorrow. Other areas, including Mount Lofty Ranges and the Mid-North, have also been told to prepare for another soaking. Earlier in the day, a severe weather warning for South Australia was cancelled. That's all from TiVi Tuan-san News at 6. I'm Nguyen. Thanks for your company.